right, welcome to episode 73 of the hops&bops podcast. I am Tom.
I'm Joe.
I'm Paul today.
That's right. Yes. So Mike couldn't make it here due to some unforeseen circumstances. So to fill in, we have our very special guest who has appeared on a couple episodes in the past, if you can recall that far back. My good friend from school. He's one of my close friends, Paul. We lovingly call him Paul 𝗂𝗃𝗃 around here, even though that's not really his last name. That's a callback to episode like 6 or something, where he did like the Thriller episode. So
I couldn't say Paul McCartney, and it just came out Paul 𝗂𝗃𝗃.
That's right. Yeah, and then you thought we were talking about him. So yeah. But yeah, no, that's Paul. It's good to see you again. How you doing?
I'm good. It's a nice cold Sunday morning.
It is, yes. Yep. And it's by the time this episode comes out, it will be Super Bowl Sunday. So I thought it would be an interesting idea to do an album from one of the artists performing, and that is Mr. Kendrick Lamar with the album Section 80, his 2011 album, I believe it was.
Yep, 2011 debut, isn't it?
It's his commercial debut. He put out one before that, but this is considered like his first really big album. And to pair with that, it's kind of a West Coast feel because he's from Compton, and so we went with Lagunitas, an India Pale Ale out of Petaluma, California. Oh, we all got the bottles.
Yeah, nice.
That's amazing. I thought everybody else got cans.
I saw the cans. I saw the cans, but I'd already picked up the bottle beforehand, so I was like, I went with it.
Gotta go bottle because it's like the short, like chubby bottle.
It's cute. It's like a cute little stout thing. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. Nice little West Coast IPA. So this is it's not gonna be like the hazy, New England style. Yeah, good pairing. Little West Coast vibes today.
Let's crack it open. I got I got a bottle opener on my keychain. That's the only one I have at the moment.
A little Nashville guitar bottle opener right there.
Mine's from Pratt & Whitney, I think. I found it somewhere. I don't know.
Sold this from my kitchen.
You guys pouring or no?
It's like a multi-tool.
Like the wine bottle opener.
Yeah.
You know what? I did not bring a glass, so I'm just gonna drink it out of the bottle, I think.
That's right. I poured though. Nice little.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Golden color.
We have a color reference. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Ooh. What do you like the Price is Right presentation?
Yeah. A brand new
IPA. All right.
Gentlemen,
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Have you guys ever had Lagunitas before?
I've never. This is my first time.
Really? Okay. Yeah. So when we were talking about it, I think even Mike threw in a couple notes. He was like, get a West, or no, I was like, let's get a West Coast style. And he was like, yeah, do Lagunitas. I've had their Little Something IPA before.
Yep, I've seen that.
With like the hot girl on the label. But this is just their like flagship, just straight up IPA. It's definitely West Coast style, more like floral and grainy than it is juicy, which is what a West Coast is. I'm gonna look up their. Yeah. Again, I should probably have this stuff up.
Nah, you don't need it.
I've only done 70 of these things. I should know by now.
It's okay. It's definitely it's definitely a West Coast style where it's not as citrusy as like a New England IPA, but it still has that very very hoppiness to it. I like around the border of the logo. It says, "Thanks for choosing to spend the next few minutes with this special homicidally hoppy ale." I don't know what that word. Homicide. Yeah. Well, homicidally sounds like you're gonna kill it. Savor the moment as the raging hop character engages the imperial qualities of the malt foundation in mortal combat on the battlefield of your palate.
Look at that. I never would have noticed that.
It's a lot.
I found their little write-up on their website. It says here, ruthlessly delicious, a well-rounded, highly drinkable India Pale Ale A bit of caramel malt barley provides the richness that mellows out the twang of the hops, including Cascade, Centennial, Chinook, and a splash of honorary C hop, Simcoe. Best enjoyed from Mustache.
Mustache. Oh, so yeah, all right. I'll douse it in my mustache, and then we'll see if it gets a little bit better.
Paul is de-mustache today.
Oh, was he has mustache before, but not today.
Yeah.
I like it. I like the shaved look.
Yeah. Cleaned up.
Yeah, I'm trying that out now. But Tom's seen me with a couple beards, I think.
Oh yeah, with the long hair all the way down to your shoulders. It's a good look.
Oh yeah. Oh god.
So this is 6.2.
Yeah.
ABV. 51.5 IBU.
Okay. It's bitterness, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean it had, piney.
Yeah, definitely piney.
Yeah, and that's kind of what West Coast IPAs go after. It's not my favorite. I always tend towards the New England style, the hazy, the juicy. But this is good. This is just a well-made beer,
Yeah. It's good. It's a little bit different for what we usually go for, which I think is definitely beneficial. Excuse me. It's not bad. It's just different,
Yeah.
Like I could definitely see myself getting used to these, and getting used to that style. But again, it's a good beer. I don't see anything wrong with it. Would I chug a whole 6-pack of these? Maybe not. But again, I do enjoy it. I also like how it says on the side, life is uncertain, don't sip.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like, I don't know. We're getting
How do you find all this stuff?
I'm just looking at the side of the bottle.
Looking. The little dog in the top right-hand corner.
Yep.
Doggone good.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gives you pronunciation. Say Lagunitas. Lagunitas.
Yeah.
There it is, right underneath the name. They squeeze a lot there on that label.
Oh yeah.
Did you read the other thing? Qualities of the malt foundation in Mortal Kombat on the battlefield of your palate.
Yeah.
It's like it's getting in a fight on your tongue. I mean, that's a cool concept to think about. But yeah, definitely probably one of the bigger West Coast breweries out there, right? I mean, I've heard of others, but this is one you can get at pretty much every brewery. Like for the beer we're doing next episode, I had to go to 5 different breweries to find, or not breweries, but liquor stores. Yeah. But this one I found at the first one. So and then I found it at pretty much every other one. So they're definitely very
popular brand.
Yeah, their global spread is well known. So yeah, shout out to them. I would like to try some of their other ones. I've seen the little somethings, and they have like I think just regular pale ales, not India pale ales. Or some kind of other variations of this that I probably should have looked up beforehand, but again, we don't do that.
We're focusing on this beer.
Exactly. Yeah. So definitely a good IPA. I will I mean, I had to get a whole 6-pack of it, so I'll probably over time definitely finish those up and not have too much of an issue. So
you should have looked in the Lucy section. I bought 2 of them.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah. Well, I looked in there. They didn't have it at the make your own 6-pack section at Total Wine.
Yeah.
They weren't there. They were only in 6-packs. They had the weird ones over in the make your owns. Ones that expired in like April of 2021.
Which might be the next beer for me.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll get there. But for the meantime though, the album we're gonna pair with this is Section 80 by Kendrick Lamar. I kind of gave Paul the option to do 2 albums if he wanted to, but he just wanted to do one, and then he said I could have the other one. So I wanted to pick this one just with the theming. I thought it would be interesting with the Super Bowl, and there are other Super Bowl artists. I think it's him, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Mary J. Blige, and Eminem, I think is the last one. I don't know why they picked Eminem if they're doing like a West Coast thing, but it might just be.
I don't know how he snuck in there, but
might just be.
I think there's 5 artists in total.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I mean, I'm sure it'll be an interesting performance. But I want to do Kendrick because Kendrick is very near and dear to me. He is one of my top 3 favorite artists of all time. I think he is just immensely talented. He has multiple classics under his belt. And I wanted to go about his album cycle a little different for like the podcast choice because another one of my favorite artists, Tyler the Creator, we kind of chose his albums in reverse, and that's just because the newest album had come out at the time and I wanted to talk about it. But Kendrick hasn't dropped since 2017, 2018. So it's been a little bit. So I want to just go through his back catalog in order and see like the progression of how he continues as an artist. And he did put out an album before this. Like I said, it was what is it called? Overly Dedicated. But that album there's a couple good songs on it, but again, this is like his commercial debut. So Section 80 2011 came out on Top Dog Entertainment, which is his label that he started up, which now features artists like 𝗣𝘂𝗹, 𝗖𝗍𝗿𝗆, who's going to be putting out a new album pretty soon, which is exciting. A lot of like bigger named artists like them. And so I think this album is incredibly interesting for me. Talks about him growing up in Section 8 housing in like the 80s and 90s, and how during that time the funding was cut by like politicians like Ronald Reagan, who cut the funding in like half, and how that kind of had a trickle effect into his life and how that totally affected him throughout his entire existence. Touches on subjects like sex and drugs and racial like what it means to be you. And so I think that's a really interesting concept to start with at such a young age. I think he was only like 22 or something when he wrote this whole album. So yeah, it's not my favorite album of his, but I do think it's a really interesting way of starting his career, with all the cool production choices and the flows and all of his really meaningful lyrics. It really does mean a lot to me. So I thought this would be a cool one to start off with. So yeah, you guys just have any thoughts going into this? I kind of just talked and rambled for a bit.
You're the resident Kendrick expert, I guess. So that's dropping the knowledge. Yeah, I thought it was interesting starting off like first album with a concept, not often, it's not usual for artists to do that. It could be kind of risky, but I think it paid off. This is a really good album. It's really well produced. I like the beats in it. I like his rapping style too. I don't really know him that well. I haven't listened to a lot by him, but he's definitely one of the rappers where I kind of lean more towards his style, where meaningful lyrics, meaningful raps, and just great beats to back it up.
Yeah, I feel like with this I was surprised listening to it last night again that it was his debut, because I drew so many parallels between this one and the album that I got into him by, which Tom showed me, called was it his third one? Was Butterfly his third one?
Yeah, To Pimp a Butterfly was his third album. It came out in 2015 or 2016. That's one of my favorite albums of all time. And so
yeah,
that's a 10 for me.
Yeah, he showed that to me, or like a song from it maybe 4 years ago, and I instantly liked it, and I had to listen to the whole thing all the way through. I had no idea what it was in high school, because that's when I was in high school when it came out, but I had no idea. But that means I was in middle school when Section 80 came out. I still had no idea what that was. But knowing what Kendrick's into with the whole the whole jazz elements with his music, he likes the jazz beats a lot. He likes sax, and you could definitely, you could tell with this debut he was still into that mentality with the sax, with this with the lo-fi beats. And I think that kind of separated him from other from other artists that were getting success at the time. Drake didn't do stuff like that, or not that I remember.
No, he was kind of leaning more towards a pop style, so he was a bit different. But I totally agree. He definitely has that really cool jazz rap sound to it. Definitely a lot of boom bap elements, if that kind of like he definitely draws inspiration from an older audience, like maybe like a Snoop Dogg, for instance. You know, I mean, he even had him on to Pimp a Butterfly in the earlier ones, but yeah, that was the album that really shone the light on me the hardest. But you know, we'll get there in time. But yeah, I think the way he goes about, you know, I mean, even this intro, fuck your ethnicity. He goes about introducing some of like the characters in the story, because he's always been a concept album kind of guy, which I always appreciate. I think adding a bit more of a deeper context to an album just, you know, pushes that to the next level instead of just having like a loose collection of songs. So he starts it off with him at the fire. Again, the guy that's talking at the fire, I think, is just Kendrick with like a pitch down voice. So I think that's just him.
I was wondering that it kind of sounded like an effect more so than an actual person, but
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, something else I want to point out just beforehand is that, you know, these are all very deep and personal stories relating to someone that we can never really truly relate to, just because of his upbringing and how, you know, his race and ethnicity come into everything. And, you know, I just want to put that out there at the beginning. But I mean, to start with, the song called "Fuck Your Ethnicity" is a really powerful statement, you know. So he uses like the two characters that we're going to hear more of later in the album, about 𝗖𝗍𝗿 and Tammy, to explore all of the things that he went through in the 80s, touching on, like, you know, Ronald Reagan government, sexuality and drugs. And I think like the way he started this, he kind of welcomes anyone that can relate to him and understand his story, you know, regardless of like your skin color. And he's trying to like get away with race being a common division, which I think is a really cool idea to start with. And, you know, I don't think it's the best track in just purely based on production and everything like that, but I do think it's a great way to start the album for me. So
Yeah, a great album opener, sets the tone, sets the scene for the album, which has that reoccurring theme or multiple themes. Um, and you could just tell he's just an intellectual guy. I mean, he's very intelligent, which is why I tend more towards his rapping style more than others when it comes to the genre for me. Yeah, it really sets it up very nicely.
I really like how he takes that kind of the instrumental, experimental approach to his music, which is still not likely to happen from other rappers, because they like to use the drum machine and a lot of production value. This one had some production in it, but definitely not as much as others of today cram a lot of stuff into it. I really like the intro to 𝗍𝘃𝗆's outro, which is like the second before the last song, and it has that little cymbal, little beat to it.
Oh yeah.
yep.
I can't wait to talk about that song. Yeah.
Yeah. That one's like the most jazzy for me.
Yeah.
But I mean, just going down the track list, you got Hold Up, or Hole Up, excuse me.
Hold up, Tom.
Hold up. Yeah, big shit popping. This one isn't really as narratively based as a lot of the other tracks, but I still think it is pretty important just in terms of the music. Just fantastic production. He has a great flow. Just keeps it really captivating. This is definitely the more boom bap style of production that I mentioned before. Kind of that vintage filter in the beginning almost makes it sound like it's like on a vinyl or something. Like the horn sample that plays through the whole thing, it's very smooth, very silky and straightforward. You know, braggadocious lyrics, and definitely a good kickback song and a very chill way to keep going on the album.
Yeah. Yeah, you said the word I was thinking of, smooth. It's such a smooth song, and then his lyrics over top, just they blend so well together. This song and really the album was great. Like I threw it on the last few days around my house just as I was doing things, and it was a great album to have on in the background. Definitely just it was good to like kind of get lost in it for a while. And then if you didn't want to, there was plenty to focus on lyrically.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, when I had my friends Nick over space and Asher Cashland on the episode, we did two episodes, and the second one was going to be this album, but then we switched it up last minute. But I ended up listening to a lot of this album back then, and I put this song on my 2020 playlist. I think it was 2020. No, it was 2021. So I put that on on that playlist because this song is just a great vibe to it, you know.
It is for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
I think,
then ADHD next.
Yeah. So I think this was the first song that I really listened to Kendrick, or by Kendrick. Because I vividly remember like putting this on my phone while I'm playing like Call of Duty on my Xbox in like middle school. Because this was like the first song that really blew up from him. On this album, I think it's the most streamed on his album by a pretty wide margin. It has 275 million, where the next biggest I think only has like 90 million, something like that.
Wow.
But yeah, this was his like biggest, not pop, but like chart appealing track that I think really shows his appeal. Like I said, he can have this like intellectual wokeness to some of his music that isn't really, doesn't really reach the wider audiences. But then you have these songs that are just, a really cool woozy beat that goes into all these this robust knowledge of like drug culture, and he talks about like tolerance, endorphins, neurotransmitters, and cold water extraction, which really can only be when you live in that area. You're definitely going to have a deeper knowledge of drugs and violence and all these other things. So yeah, definitely one of my favorite all-time Kendrick songs. Really cool sample over it, and he just sounds so like ice cold for the entire song. So
yeah, for sure. It's interesting that just from like an outsider's perspective, I did a little research on this, and I guess the only like released single was High Power at the end of the album, last track.
I think so, yeah.
And it just goes to show you the day and age. I mean, even back then, 2011, over 10 years ago, that it doesn't really matter what's a single anymore, because you can easily access any track you want. You don't have to buy the album, and any track can go viral. Any track can trend, and so it's cool that this kind of took off. I also like how this butt up against Hold Up, two completely different sounds. Hold Up is more of your traditional instruments and has that smooth jazz feel like we talked about, and then this kind of dives right into your traditional hip hop sound that has the 808s in the background, has the electronic beats and the effects, but they do complement each other very well. It's not like it's too far of a jump from one another. They do fit well together, and you can tell like each song is a piece to the overall puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this song's a good one too. I enjoyed it a lot.
If ADHD was like his certified first hit,
I would say so, yeah. I mean, obviously I don't know the entire timeline of his releases in terms of like when everything got popular, but this definitely went off. I remember like I only really got into rap music like around middle school, high school era, which was probably around the time this came out. So this was the first song I knew from him. It was this, and then it was Swimming Pools off of Good Kid, Mad City, which was I think 2013. So yeah, this one I'm pretty sure is like his biggest hit. Going into it after that, we've got No Makeup Her Vice featuring Colin Monroe. I don't know who that is. I've never heard of him before, but I'm just gonna assume that's him on the chorus. This is where the album takes a little bit of a weirder turn for me. I mean, I understand in terms of the context of the album why this makes sense. I mean, you got to have the story to progress, but just purely on like a sound production basis, it's not my favorite sounding. I think it sounds the most dated, just in terms of what they were going for, and the feature, kind of that auto-tuned vocal on the chorus. But I do think it's a powerful song. I do think what he's going for in terms of like saying no makeup her vice, saying like you don't need the makeup to look sexy, and then saying you don't need to get drunk to have fun at the end, kind of highlights the reason why I think he's portraying this to like a sister or family member as to be like, you don't have to do all these things just to appeal to the people around you. And this is where he starts talking about 𝗖𝗍𝗿, who I believe is a prostitute that he was close with or was a family member with. And I think the reliance on makeup shows like a parallel to other substances that are like constantly abused, like alcohol and drugs. Like you don't need them to go have like this extra part of your life. So, and one thing I did like was at the end of the track where, where he's like, that she's talking and then she says like, I did all this stuff because I had a black eye, and then he cuts out and he says to be continued. So it kind of shows why she put on all that makeup, was to kind of cover this abuse she was going through. But I don't know. In terms of the song itself, I don't think I would listen to it all the way through every time I listen, but I understand why it's there.
It definitely has more of a like a pop vibe to it. Like this kind of sounds like a single, what you would think a single would sound like production wise and arrangement wise. That chorus with the auto tune you were talking about kind of reminds me of that song. Remember "Let It Rock" by like Kevin Rudolph?
Yep.
Like that's that time period.
Yes.
Yeah. Not really the whole song, but just that chorus and the melody they chose and the auto tune. It kind of sounded like that, dated. That's dated now.
Yeah, that was 2011. So I mean, that was the sound they were going for. But
yeah.
I mean, yeah, usually a skip if I listen to it all the way through, but I mean, makes sense for the whole album. Then you go on to Tammy's song, Her Evils, which I think is a really cool track. Not necessarily like a very standout thing that I have to listen to every time. But I really like that cool synth that really laces itself through the entire track. It sounds like some kind of futuristic, glitchy, like snake that's just slithering his way through the track, where they're just like, I don't know.
Like a video game.
Exactly, yeah. So this brings Tammy into the equation after introducing 𝗖𝗍𝗿 in the last track. So this one I think is just about like steady relationships and how much you advocate for the other partner in your relationship versus how quickly that can change. And how are you already out? Are you out of Lagunitas, Paul?
I was gonna say it looked like for a while I was the only one drinking, but Paul was like secret drinking. Yeah.
Damn. Well, I gotta catch up. But anyway, yeah, I just thought it was kind of interesting. Talks about how all these people that advocate for your partner, and then they just end up cheating on you or leaving for you. And then it's 𝗖𝗍𝗿, and I think it's Tam, or not 𝗖𝗍𝗿, I think it's Tammy and another person. And then they both eventually, the two girls, find solace in each other after these two people break up. So I don't know. Pretty decent song. I thought it was an interesting production choice for that little synthy bit.
Yeah.
But
yeah, not too many thoughts on this one.
That's fair. I understand. Yeah, like I said, it's not like a 10 out of 10 like some of his other projects are, but just a cool starting point in terms of his career, or at least commercially. Chapter 6 kind of starts up after this, another bit of an interlude, but this just goes to show like even his interludes are like suave and sexy. This his knowledge on production choices was still elite even this early into his career. And then ended with another fireside chat that continues the opening and the loose concept that goes about this. Chapter 6, because I think it's the 6th song, and a bit of a lead in to the next song after this. But yeah, I don't know, pretty decent, nice jazzy bit.
Agreed. Does its job,
Does.
It's like you said, that interlude, it's a nice transition song and kind of introduces maybe the next act. you know, because the next song, Ronald Reagan Era, it's a pretty heavy track, and
Yeah.
a big thing, or a big piece to the story,
Hmm.
like you were talking about earlier with Reagan's decisions, and you know the trickle down effect. So I think chapter 6 kind of provided that nice segue into this part of the album.
Hmm. For sure.
Yeah. And Kendrick was born in the late 80s, wasn't he?
I think, yeah, probably about 88, 89.
Yeah. So Reagan would have been probably president when he was born.
Exactly.
87.
87. There you go.
Yeah, so he was. I think he was. So yeah, like I think this song is like a good segue like into the Ronald Reagan era. And because he mentions Reagan in this song in chapter 6, like
Hmm.
like very briefly, like once.
Yeah.
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 So well, I like I like the kind of the spoken word with an easy chorus approach that he takes in this one.
Yeah, that's good. You got Ronald Reagan Era, obviously, after that. You know, he's painting like this dystopian picture of Compton, while, you know, at the same time telling us that he's, you know, on the good list with all like the local gangs. So Rizza is on this track from Wu-Tang Clan, as well as Ab-Soul, who was making he was kind of cementing his name in the rap scene as well. He has a couple decent projects. I enjoy him. Obviously he's got the outro on this as well, but he's on this as well. I'm not a huge fan of this song either. I think kind of his ad lib, like whoop de whoop whoop parts were a little weird. Um, but it's kind of a non-essential track for me. It makes sense in the entire canon of this album. You know, you kind of have to have him talking about how much Ronald Reagan kind of ruined his upbringing by cutting all of these social funding things in half, and just, you know, changing his entire upbringing in general. But in terms of the production, it sounded like, I don't even know how it sounded. Kind of like you were on like the court steps going up into the some kind of political office building, singing this out there. Which, if that's your vibe, you know,
Political
definitely go
office
for
building.
it. I forget
Very
what it's.
descriptive.
Yeah.
Shut up.
That's like if you have subtitles on like a TV show. Like John walks up to the political office building.
But I don't know. I think it paints a good picture of living in Section 8 householding at the time. But and in terms of just the song in general, it's not my favorite.
I kind of liked it. I don't know. Like this album's
Okay.
like hard for me to separate each song because of the concept and how much each song has to do with one another, and then just sonically how each song can kind of sound different from one another. So I don't know. I thought this one fit very well. It did kind of have like a dated kind of B.O.B. kind of
A little bit.
you know, but
Yeah.
yeah, not bad.
Yeah. I'm trying to catch up with Paul. Excuse me.
It's a marathon time.
That's right. That's true. You know, it's not a sprint.
I drink like 5 ounces a sip.
5 ounces a sip.
Damn.
How many ounces are in this? Well, it says life is uncertain, don't sip. So you're not really sipping. You're kind of gulping at that point.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got Po Man's Dreams, His Vice, featuring GLC on the other half of this. I thought this song was cool for me. Definitely that more you know, smoother style. But it alludes back to, I mean, obviously Po Man's Dreams, talking, you know, a play on the southern pronunciation of the word poor, but also alludes to Edgar Allan Poe, which I didn't know before this. Poe's cause of death in 1849 was inconclusive, but many historians suspect he died of symptoms related to alcohol poisoning. And so in this sense, he gave into his vice, which led to an early demise. So it's kind of a warning song for the listener, or for this cautionary tale he's spreading out, that you know, maybe don't give in to all of your vices and try to remain, somewhat clean, So I just thought that was a really cool way of combining those two thoughts on this one track. And it also helps. It's a great track. It's pretty smooth. I love the kind of mantra of smoke good, eat good, live good.
Yeah.
That he kind of repeats for the whole thing. Definitely an interesting track for me, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like the subtle like record scratching in the back, kind of like it's coming out of a record player. And
Yep.
I like that consistent. It's like a just piano part that goes through the entire song. It allows you to get lost in the song, yet still focus on what's being said. That way you're not focusing on too much. You have, the steady music in the background while the lyrics do their thing.
Who's GLC?
He is an artist that has been, I don't know if he's done anything like bigger by himself, but I know he was on some of Kanye's early stuff. I know if you know the song Spaceships, off of the College Dropout, he was on that. But I don't think he had huge success by himself. But yeah, he's been bigger for his appearances on other albums. He was on College Dropout, and he was on Late Registration too. I forgot about that. He was on Drive Slow. So maybe he was more of like a studio guy or something like that. But yeah, he's definitely seen more success on other people's work, which is kind of sad. But I mean, what he adds, I think, is pretty decent. It kind of contributes to the album in his own little way. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Chapter 10 after that, another interlude section that kind of leads in. Oh, something I should mention before this, there is actually another track that's not on streaming services that was supposed to be in between Poor Man's Dreams and Chapter 10. It's called the Spiteful Chant, which features Schoolboy Q, another top dog rapper. They couldn't feature it because they couldn't get the sample cleared. It was a song called Wood Kid by Iron, which is this really cool, epic horn section that's really, really powerful. That I actually love the sample originally, but they couldn't get it on the streaming services. But it's a great track, Spiteful Chant. But anyway, cool. Chapter 10, another interlude, pretty meh for me. I kind of like how that fast flow bit that he gets into later. But in terms of an interlude, he's just basically saying, like, make sure you're taking notes and then leave it all on the table. That's kind of the entire point of it. I thought it was just kind of like a reminder to the listener, be like, hey, you're listening to a concept album. Listen.
Yeah. It's like a teacher, like halfway through class, like, are you still with me? Like,
Yeah. And the answer is no.
But yeah, it's okay. Then you got a 𝗖𝗍 song, Her Pain, after that, featuring Ash Riser. This is the part in the album where he mentions that he's talking to his little sister for most of the album. They're instructing her through a narrative tragedy to never become a prostitute or become a victim to the streets. I like how at the end of every verse he said, like, he was talking about, like, Rosa Parks doesn't matter when you're in the back seat of a car because of all these different reasons. So he's not really, well, he's talking about, this Black experience while all these people fought for him just to get into this position. It's a little rough for him. So he's painting it as this tragedy to show, the downsides of living in this certain area. So it's very vivid. It's a tough song to listen to at some points. It ends up with her getting beaten up and dying in the streets at the end of the song. So a little rough in terms of the narrative itself, but I think it's a very, very powerful song and definitely needed to be on this album. And so, yeah.
Again, it was kind of appropriate having chapter 10 kind of lead into this, another like heavy theme. But yeah, it just adds to the story, adds to the flow of the album. Who do you know who 𝗍𝘅 is?
No.
Feature? No.
Oh well, okay. So it was originally called Ash Riser because I'm looking at the Genius lyrics. So
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Astrobot is someone. Oh yeah, if you click on their pages, they even show up at all. So I wonder if they either changed their name or whatever. But
Maybe the Astrobot was like the stage name.
maybe I don't know.
Yeah,
But he's not like, I don't want to say he's like demonizing prostitutes or like demoralizing them at all, but I think he's just pointing out like that there is this profession that it's very damaging to the people that are in it. And he's merely painting it as a bigger picture for his sister to see that there are women behind, this picture that they paint for themselves. So definitely a powerful moment for me. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
but
And I felt, I think for a lot of people, this is like the standout track because of its emotional depth in it.
mhm.
Like with the talk that he's having with his sister, and he's trying to empathize with her and trying to get her not to do what she feels like she needs to do. But
Yeah.
that's why I think it's kind of like what Eminem was trying to do with Stan, kind of.
Yeah, kind of paint a bigger picture for someone that doesn't really understand it.
Yeah.
But and that's a big but. Right after this track, everyone's like, oh man, this is kind of sad, but like you understand why it has to be there. You pick it up with fucking Rigor Mortis.
Yes.
Holy shit, I love this. This is probably one of my favorite songs on this album. Just a super fast flowing lyrical, everything's coming at you. If you watch the Vice video, I think they put out a while ago on some like the best rappers of all time, they use this song specifically to show like how different rap has progressed. Like if you look at the song like like the breaks in like the 80s, brakes on the beat, brakes on the bus, brakes on the train, brakes that'll make you da da da. And then you transport to this song, you're like, how the hell in the progression of rap music did they get to this point? Like you can definitely see he's gotten experience and influence from other rappers like Biggie, Snoop, all these artists that change up their flow over the album, and cross the bar line and do all these triplet flows and change it up so much to the point where even if you know most of the words like I do for this track, you can't rap along to it. Like he made a song that's almost unrappable if you don't know every single cadence from like point to point, from bar to bar, and the way he just goes about doing that is impressive.
Yeah.
Oh, we gotta let the cat in.
I thought Paul was just bouncing. He's like, yeah, enough of this.
But yeah, no, just
talking about Rigor Mortis. I don't want to talk about this song.
I'm out.
Yeah. I thought that from here on out, I thought the album finished really strong.
Mhm.
There's a lot of hard hitting, good, solid tracks at the end of this album. This is one of them.
Yeah. Paul, what's your cat's name?
His full name is Senator Jack Black Kennedy from Massachusetts, but we just call him Jack.
The third.
Yeah. Oh, he's a certified Kendrick fan.
He's a certified hood classic.
Yeah, so that's why he's here. He heard Rigor Mortis.
He heard me talking. He's like, "Oh, I got to get in there. I got to make my feature on the show."
He's an aspiring rapper.
Senator Jack Black Kennedy of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Then you have Ab-Soul's outro. Paul, I want you to talk about Ab-Soul's outro.
Hell yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love the I just love like the feel of it. I mean, I've told you how much I love the intro, but I just love like the saxophones are really prevalent like in this album. And I just appreciate Kendrick for I appreciate Kendrick for taking that kind of that kind of jazz approach to his work. And on Ab-Soul's outro you can hear it. And Ab-Soul, I don't know too much about him, but I mean I didn't know who he was until this album. But I do like it a lot.
He's a good artist. He's featured on the soundtrack for Black Panther a fair bit because their whole label did a fair bit of that. He has a good album called "Do What Thou Will" in 2016 that I think has some decent tracks on it. But yeah, he's not the biggest standout artist on the label, but I think he does have a lot of cool potential. I mean, obviously on this track, he kind of ties up the themes discussed by Kendrick through the album, like with like Keisha and Tammy, like the '80s babies of the Ronald Reagan era, living well, all these different things, and adds some input of his own too. So on the lyrical front, great. On the musical front, even more great. I think just those fluttering saxophones in the back and the skittering drum beats, just really cool. Cool. It's not even the outro either.
Right.
But it just labeled as that. So just a cool track, really cool one. Definitely a sleeper if you didn't listen all the way through.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, for me, the drums caught me right away. You're used to listening to a certain kind of music throughout a whole album, and then all of a sudden at the end, this one really caught me by surprise. The drums are just recorded perfectly. It sounds like you're right there in the lounge, like listening to the guy go, and then the horns come in, and then it sounds like a straight up jazz song, but then he comes in and starts rapping, and it just, the two styles like fit so well together. I was so impressed at how he made that work.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense. You want to hear more of it almost. Like, I would love for him to make like a whole album like this, not the same
Yes.
jazz
See,
drum beat.
this is why I wanted to do this. Okay.
Yeah.
So that when we listen to his future albums, you're going to get the reasoning behind his production choices and not just experience it from an outer bit. You can actually understand like the progression of where he came from. But
Okay,
that's cool. I'm glad
I'm
you
glad
like
we're
that.
hitting an artist like at the beginning, and
Yep. It's
you know,
important to me,
seeing them progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love this song. This is a great song. Definitely caught my attention the whole way through.
Yeah. This track is like if you ever seen Ratatouille, where in the beginning scene he eats the strawberry and he's got the little, show, then he eats the cheese, he's got his own little kind of thing and he eats both at the same time, and it's like, whoa, like a whole fireworks show. You hear the jazz and then he starts rapping and you're like, whoa, this is a cool section. So
Yeah.
it just goes to show like his own
Yeah.
section in the rap community where he does his own thing and does it well. So
I give him a lot of credit making a song like this, and even in 2011, it's over 10 years ago now, but back then, what was rap? It was it was on the pop end, it was electronic, it was, beats, and I give him a lot of credit for going this route on a song like this.
Yeah. I think it's Terrence Martin. I think he's the one on the saxophone at the end, just kind of goes crazy. So I just wanted to give him the credit there too. And yeah, just a standout track for me. I really enjoyed that one. And it all wraps up with High Power at the end. This is another like single based song for me. It definitely has that style. Joe is right. It is the first song released for this album. It kind of talks about self-enlightenment through reflection and all these other things, touches on racial subjects, political figures, conspiracy theories of today, and all these other things. I kind of like how it's stylized, like the high HIII and then power different. I don't know. It's kind of like a more of a belief that he believes in, because he says high power in all of his lyrics beforehand and later in his career as well. And just a cool motive to have through the whole album. I kind of wanted Ab-Soul's outro to be the actual outro. So I think if he had put High Power somewhere else in the album, structurally it would have made more sense. But
I agree with you.
Yeah, I still think it's a good track by itself. I think it makes sense why it was a single.
Yeah, for sure. The way Ab-Soul's outro ended just made perfect sense compared to how the album began. And so that was an interesting kind of structure thought, but I don't know. Yeah, it's weird that it ends the album. High Power does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would have had the outro beat the true outro. of the
Yeah.
album.
The one with the outro in the name.
Yeah.
That would make too much sense, though.
This
Yeah.
is the end of the album. That's a good song.
Yeah.
Oh, should I smack my mic? But yeah, that's pretty much the album. I thought it would have been interesting to have this be the start of our Kendrick listening career. Yeah, let's jump into some of our tracks, or some of our favorite tracks.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I will start. Oh man, it's gonna be tough. I don't know what I'm gonna put as my favorite. I'm gonna do do a bit of a tie, because it's a good album for me. I'm gonna put Rigor Mortis up there as one of my favorite tracks. Just a cool, fast-paced, energetic, fiery track that just shows all of his competitors eat shit. And ADHD was my first introduction to Kendrick's style, and what he's all about, and his pop appeal in the mainstream, and the way he goes about producing this woozy, psychedelic, almost inspired beat. It was just a really cool moment on the album that explains why he's so big. So those two are probably my favorites.
Nice. I'm gonna go with 𝗖𝘃𝗆𝘆's outro. That's, yeah. I mean, I just love the fusion between the jazz and the rap. I mean, it works so well, and on paper it shouldn't, and it does. And just overall, I mean, he does that all throughout the album. He pulls from different elements from different genres and makes it work. And I thought that's definitely my favorite song for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the one I always go back to is No Makeup for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah. I go back to No Makeup. I just like the chorus in it. It's one of the most recognizable ones for me. And the other one I go back to is, you already know what it is. It's 𝗖𝘃𝗆𝘆's outro. I mean, the drums got me like in the first couple seconds. It's a good opener to what should be the final track of the album, because that's what it's called. But it's whatever. Kendrick can make his own set list. He can make his own track listing, his own order.
Fair enough. Paul, though, what would you consider to be your least favorite track on the album, though?
Least favorite track.
If you're not ready, I can go if you don't want.
Yeah, you do it.
All right, I'll start. It's tough because these tracks like all make sense to me in terms of where they are in the album placement. But if you're looking at if you're just gonna cherry pick certain songs, like just purely listen to them as like a single, I would probably go with 𝗃 Corinthians. I do like it in terms of the entire album, but just by itself, it was a bit slow, a little too much not happening for me. I do like BJ Chicago Kid's part, but it just really didn't stand out too much for me.
All right. I think I'm gonna go with Keisha's song "Her Pain." Not for a lyrical content. Just, I don't know, halfway kind of at that point in the album was kind of a little too slow for me. I know 𝗃 Corinthians was kind of slow too, but for some reason that one, I like that consistent bass in the background. It was kind of mesmerizing. But even this song isn't that bad. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tougher to pick a least favorite,
Yeah, I know. I feel bad
it.
calling one of the, like, I almost want to say like chapter 6 and chapter 10 are,
Sure.
But I know it's a concept album, so they're kind of needed. So I don't know. I guess I'll stick with Keisha's song.
Yeah. I think for me, the one that I think about the least is I think the very first one, Fuck Your Ethnicity.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a least favorite, but because I think about it the least, it might be my least favorite one. I don't know.
Right.
That's fair. So now we get into our sleeper picks, or like a sleepy dark horse, if you will, Paul. Do you know what your sleeper is? Something that if you haven't listened to the album all the way through, you might miss, or like a track that goes along those guidelines.
Poor Man's Dreams.
Yeah.
That's right, I think.
Yeah, that's a solid pick, Paul.
Yeah. I mean, if you couldn't tell, I'm a fan of the album, so it's tough to pick one. I'll name a couple. I really like Hole Up. The second track was just a really, really cool one. I really did like Fuck Your Ethnicity. I thought that was a cool way to start it, kind of just putting all of these reservations we have to the side and kind of coming together as one to understand these terrible problems that he's grown up with. I thought Tammy's song was kind of interesting. That cool synth bit. And like you said, Absol's outro is just fantastic. Not really as well known as some of the other ones. It only has 11 million streams. I think it's probably the least streamed song. Even the interludes have more streams. So if you haven't gotten to that point in the album, you probably would have missed this one. And I will give a little credence to High Power. I think it's a great track. It does have a bit more single power to it as well, but I think it does have its own merits, and probably would have done better in a different spot, but I still enjoyed it.
Yeah. I mean, Absol's outro is like the perfect choice for a sleeper. But since that is my favorite track, I don't want to double up. So I'm gonna go with the next song that kind of sounds like that, and that's Hold Up. Even though it's the second track on the album, and if you are listening to the album, you're gonna hit it. It's the second track. Really, it's almost like the first track. If you kind of go through Fuck Your Ethnicity, and it's kind of like an intro kind of piece. But I really like this song. It's a great song, and it again mixes the hip hop with the jazz very nicely. And I think Poor Man's Dreams was a great pick too.
You say Paul Man's Dreams?
Yeah, because Paul picked it. Poe Man's Dreams.
Sorry.
Because of the Edgar Allan Poe, and then the Southern pronunciation of port, like that whole
that was cool.
double entendre thing, I thought was kind of cool. So I guess those would be my two.
All right, so we want to drop a hot rating on that.
Let's rate it.
I guess I will start because I chose it.
Yes.
So I kept going back through the track list as I was doing this review, and I was like, I recognize it's not my favorite Kendrick release, but I keep going back through and I'm like, oh, that song was pretty good. Hey, that song was pretty good. You know what? This song was pretty good. So like originally I rated it a little bit lower, but I think I'm gonna put it around like between an 8 and an 8.5. I think that's a good spot to put it at because for a debut, just a fantastic release. I mean, obviously he did put out an album before this, but for a commercial debut, I should say, just a way to make a statement into the hip hop realm, into the jazz and R&B and all of these different kinds of genres that he mashes up together. Some great feature work, some great production choices, really fantastic lyricism. And while the concept is a bit looser than some of his other ones, I think it still ties in really, really greatly and really sets the picture for what he had to go through growing up and all these different struggles that happen to so many people still today. And it's just a great album. And I thought it would be great to start off with to go through his progression. So
I'm gonna give it a 6.5. Just because I'm not as familiar with it, but I think it's a really well-made album, especially for a debut. Mixes a lot of genres together, and he took a lot of risks on here with the concept and the jazz elements. I am looking forward to some other Kendrick albums in the future. Yeah. But again, it's not my go-to genre, but I did like it a lot. I think this is like one of my favorite rap albums we've done on the podcast for sure. And I do like what Kendrick Lamar does. So 6.5 for Joe.
Cool.
I would do a 7.5 for this one because the fact that it is a debut, and I like that. I mean, I wish I found out about this album sooner because like Butterfly was my favorite for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't curious enough to see what his earlier stuff was like. But I do like, like the mixture of the genres and the different instruments and the saxophones. They just get me. So the saxophones, I love Kendrick for doing that. I don't know any other rappers today, and even from 10 years ago that do that. So yeah, like I would go to an 8, but I don't know. There are some forgettable ones on this, and as long as there are, it won't be a 10, but it would be. So yeah, 7.5 for me.
That's where I was originally. So yeah, I understand that as well. So yeah, cool. But what do we think about the Lagunitas IPA? If you didn't notice while Joe was talking, I did finish it, so there's nothing left in here. As I was sipping it, I enjoyed it more as it was going on. I think it took a little bit of getting used to, just because we've done so many, New England styles, all these fruity, all these different kind of citrusy drinks, but this one's a bit more piney. You've got more of like this hoppiness to it that you didn't really expect beforehand. But as I get going, I thought it was definitely better as I drank it. I think I'm gonna give it a 6.5, because it's not really above and beyond what I consider. I do enjoy more of the citrusy beers, but I think it had more merits as I went going. So yeah, 6.5. I'm gonna be happy to finish the rest of them.
Nice. I'm actually giving it a 7.5.
Ooh.
Yeah, this is, as I said earlier, it's not my favorite style of beer, but as I drank the whole thing, it was still tasty. And usually this kind of beer, the hoppy and the piney taste tends to leave like a bad taste in my mouth, but this was extremely easy to drink. I can see me grabbing, a 6-pack of these and this having be my drink, at a party or something. This is what I'm going to bring instead of, a mix or something like that. Yeah, definitely highly recommend it. It's very well made, good brand too, and a good complement to the whole West Coast theme of the episode. So 7.5 for Lagunitas IPA.
Yeah, I give it an 8.
Ooh,
because
nice.
yeah, no, it just like like it definitely carries that West Coast vibe in it with every bottle. And I love the artwork of the I mean, it's kind of simple, isn't it? But it has the little, like the nonsensical sentences across, like
Yeah.
savor the moment as the raging hop character engages the Imperial. Like what?
yeah.
But I like it. I can tell the people that make this have a sense of humor.
Yeah, fun doing what they do.
Yeah. And alcohol by volume, yeah, 6.2%, not bad. And yeah, I mean, I would give it like an 8. Well, maybe I might change it to an 8.5. Let's just do that, because I was actually more satisfied. I was more satisfied with this than I think I was. So.
Nice. All right, cool.
At the buzzer.
Yeah, he swished it in there. Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for listening. Shout him out, Kendrick Lamar. He's just Kendrick Lamar on, I think, all streaming services and all kind of Instagrams and everything.
Instagrams.
All of the Instagrams and the Facebooks.
Okay.
And
Boomer.
the Googles. Okay, boomer. And then
we have Lagunitas Beer on Instagram, and check them out. Again, they're out of Petaluma, California.
Yes. And also Chicago, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I think they have their separate brewery there too. So
that's cool. Nice.
Yeah, go check them out. Yeah. Thank you for listening. It's the Super Bowl, by the way. And when we're releasing this, who you guys got in the game? I'm gonna be rooting hard for the Bengals. But I'm just glad Tom Brady's not in it. That's all I'm happy about.
Yeah. Enjoy the game. And it's cool that like usually we do these things way ahead of time. Like, no, like we actually know who's going to be in the game.
Exactly. Yeah, we're only doing it a week in advance. So
yeah, it sounds like we're pretty caught on. Yeah. I think it's just going to be a good game. Two fresh teams, and how could you not root for Matt Stafford a little bit all those years on the Lions, and then Joe fucking Burrow. I mean, he's my guy. Like, I just love what they have going on, the Bengals. So should be a good game. I'm going to be entertained. And then the halftime show too should be really good.
It's true. So yeah, episode 74 now. Is that it? Are we that deep? There we go.
We do the same thing every episode. We're always like, episode 35, episode 74.
It'll be 74.
Okay.
Yeah. So this will be Paul's choice of album. We talked about this before he came on the show. What he wanted to do, and we decided to do Flexible Strategies, the B-sides album, I believe, from The Police that came onto streaming services in 2018, but was originally released with a CD box set of everything that came out. So that should be fun. And to pair that, we're doing Flying Jennies by 𝗖𝘂𝗹. They're out of Rhode Island, another Rhode Island classic. There you go. You can see Paul holding it in his hands right there. It took me 5 liquor stores to go get to find this. I just want to point that out again. The greater Hartford area does not really care about them, but I do. So should be a very fun episode. Paul, I'm very excited to have you on the show again, and thank you for being on for this episode. It was a lot of fun.
Got it.
All right.
See you next episode, Paul.
That's right.
Stick around. Don't go far. All right. So Hops and Bops podcast. Check us out on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. We're streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcast. Check out our YouTube channel with all the video content. And we're on every day I get a new email about a new streaming platform.
Well, I think we're on about 10 right now.
Okay. So I guess wherever you get your podcasts, check us out. That's awesome. So for Tom and our special guest, Paul, I've been Joe. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.
Peace. Weird. I did it. That's weird.